Hello everyone, it is Tsuki, and tonight we're going to be talking about ranged DPS. Yes. So, I've been playing all three ranged DPS jobs pretty extensively this expansion so far. And yeah, I've been enjoying all three for different reasons. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun on pretty much all three of them. It's really fun. I really like it. I really enjoy all three. And we're going to kind of just be giving my thoughts on the ranged DPS jobs and kind of where I think they stand, and things I like, things that I'm not too fond of, and we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, if you're looking for the healer version of this sort of video, that should be coming out soon-ish. I want to get it out before job adjustments happen on Tuesday, so hopefully it should be tomorrow night at the latest. I still need to finish leveling Astrologian and get some more time with Astrologian, I guess, since I haven't had as much time to play that as I have with White Mage and Scholar. But ranged DPS today. So we're gonna start off with Bard, because I feel like Bard is kind of it's the easiest one to tackle. A lot of it is just some changes to how Stormblood Bard was, whereas Machinist is practically a completely new job, and Dancer is a completely new job. So we're gonna start with Bard first. So the first major thing is that looking at the changes that came out of the NA Media Tour, I thought that Bard wasn't going to really change that much in terms of how it plays, and that's pretty much true. It plays practically the same as Stormblood Bard. You just have a couple extra toys to play with, really, and I guess the biggest fundamental change about Bard is Straight Shot. Straight Shot, no longer a crit buff. Now it's just simply a 200 potency attack, which is slightly more than Heavy Shot, and basically the purpose of Straight Shot is just a precursor to Refulgent Arrow, which you get at level 70. So before level 70, you'll have Straight Shot. Heavy Shot still has to proc Straight Shot before you can use it, or you can proc it with Barrage now, which is a nice little change. Now every time you hit Barrage, you'll automatically get Straight Shot ready, which means you thankfully no longer have to hope and pray to get your Refulgent Arrow within your Raging Strikes to use with Barrage. Now, as soon as you press Barrage, you'll have your Refulgent Arrows to use with Barrage. So, fantastic change. I think that's a really good change to kind of help mitigate what was probably the most frustrating RNG aspect of Bard, which is just chock full of RNG aspects. So, yeah, I think having kind of mitigated that RNG aspect of Bard, I feel like Bard, it feels fine, despite being RNG heavy. And completely reliant on RNG to do a lot of the stuff that bards do, all their songs and stuff. I feel like the fact that we can kind of guarantee that we get our Refulgent Arrow at least in our Raging Strikes to use with Barrage kind of helps make it not feel shitty. There isn't a moment where I ever feel like RNG is just working against me on Bard like I have in the past, like in Stormblood. So that's a good thing. Thumbs up for me. Yeah, good thing. Another thing to kind of talk about Straight Shot and it not getting crit anymore is that, this is something that a lot of bards I feel like have kind of missed with the changes to Bard and Shadowbringers, but we're not relying on crit anymore to proc our songs and stuff, to proc our repertoire. Now it's very simply a 40% chance every time your dot ticks. Both on Stormbite and Caustic Bite, or Wind Bite and Venomous Bite, if you are pre-64? Yeah, pre-64. So yeah, now it's just a flat 40% chance every time your dot ticks. It's no longer reliant on crit, so you don't have to stack crit if you don't want to, although I think crit is still a pretty powerful secondary stat. Although again, it's really early in the expansion. Secondary stats, they're kind of all up in the air now. It's really just whatever you feel like putting on right now, because yeah, we haven't had really enough time to kind of figure out which ones are best for each job yet. So personally, I've been stacking crit and direct hit on my ranged DPS. Not sure if that's the best way to go, but that's what I'm doing for now, and it's pretty satisfying to see all those crits and direct hits and direct crits. So yeah, pretty fun. So big change there. I feel like a lot of bards are kind of missing is that we're not relying on crit anymore. It's just a flat 40% chance to grant repertoire whenever our dots tick. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind for Bard. And as for Bard itself, that's really kind of the bigger changes. We got a couple of new things, I guess. We have Shadow Bite, which is just an AoE version of Sidewinder. If there's ever more than one target in close proximity, you can use Shadow Bite. Does 220 potency as opposed to 260 for one. So if there is just 2 targets and you have your dots up, Shadow Bite is more DPS. Burst Shot finally got an upgraded version of Heavy Shot. Finally, it took us 6 years to get to this point, but we finally have something to replace Heavy Shot. Thank goodness, because I was getting tired of using Heavy Shot. I mean, Burst Shot, it's basically the same thing. It's just it looks slightly cooler and does more damage, obviously. With that, we also get a neat little trait here, and we need to talk about this. Heavy Shot Mastery. Yeah, that's not what I was talking about. Byte Mastery is what I was talking about. Byte Mastery 2, which basically adds the 35% chance to proc Straighter Shot onto your dots and also onto Iron Jaws, which creates kind of an issue with Bard. Is that you can get times when it's basically it's kind of like Black Mage back in the day. Black Mage when we weren't like spamming Fire 4 on Black Mage, when we would occasionally get our Fire Starter proc, but we'd already kind of be mid-cast our Fire proc or a Fire spell, and then we'd end up getting another Fire Starter proc from that Fire spell. It's kind of like this, except in this case it's not we're getting it while we're mid-cast, it's that we're getting it but we kind of have to prioritize something else rather than using our Straighter Shot proc. So what I mean by this is that hands down, your first priority is always applying your dots. So that's 2 chances already to proc Straighter Shot proc. Say you throw up your Storm Bite, you get your Straighter Shot proc, and then you throw up Caustic Bite, and then you get another Straighter Shot proc. You just wasted one, right? And then that effect kind of gets compounded whenever you're trying to multi-dot enemies, which you know, in dungeons, large pulls, it's never a bad idea to multi-dot, especially when your tank's kind of working to pull all the enemies and, you know, running to the end to get all the enemies grouped up. But also and especially in the extreme primals we have right now, Titania and in Innocence, both have ad phases that there's 3 ads on the field. So as a bard, your first priority when that ad phase starts is to dot all 3 of them, because why wouldn't you? You know, that's more DPS that's constantly ticking. That's triple the chances to get repertoire stacks. Obviously, that's your first priority, but then that's potentially 6 Refulgent Arrow procs kind of just on the table that you might be wasting. So yeah, that's kind of sucks. Like, I mean, if you just kind of pretend like, you know, it's always just a good thing, like we don't need to have this Byte Mastery 2 to get our Refulgent Arrow procs from using our dots or using Iron Jaws. But yeah, it feels really bad when you're wasting your Straighter Shot procs because you have to prioritize dotting everything. But yeah, it kind of sucks. It'd be nice if we kind of got the Ruin 4 treatment, where we could stack our procs. But I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't know. I feel like that wouldn't happen. Not without getting a nerf to either the chance for it to proc from Byte Mastery 2 or a nerf to Refulgent Arrow's potency altogether. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna get stackable procs for Bard. I don't feel like it's gonna happen, even with the changes coming up on Tuesday. But I don't know, we'll see. It'd be nice to see that, but I feel like if we do see that, it'll be at the cost of something else. But yeah, that's kind of an unfortunate thing happening there. And then we also have Apex Arrow, which delivers a potency of 500 to all enemies in straight line before you. Costs at least 20 soul gauge, but the potency will increase as soul gauge exceeds minimum cost. And we'll get our soul gauge at level 80 as well, which kind of just feels like a tacked on thing. Like essentially what the soul gauge is just a gauge that is active whenever you're singing a song, any of the 3 songs, and it'll go up by 5 every time you get a repertoire stack. So yeah, it's just something that's constantly going up with your repertoire stacks, and you want to use this at max gauge, or at least as close to max gauge. The only times you'd want to use it at not max gauge is if the fight's gonna end, basically, and or if you're like really close, like you're in like the 90, like 85 range, and you're under raging strikes, it might be okay to use it then. I don't know the exact math on that, but for the most part, I just kind of follow the rule, using it at max gauge, which I feel like this should be changed, honestly. I feel like it'd be better if they just made Apex Arrow like closer to what its max potency actually is, but then give it like a soul gauge cost of 80, kind of like what Ninja has with their Ninki gauge. It's like where everything costs 80, but and you have that like 20 that 20 gauge to sort of to fill up in case you need to do other stuff first, which is true, because like again your straighter shot, your dots take priority over using Apex Arrow. So if you're ever in a situation where either one, you're not in range to use Apex Arrow because this has a much shorter range, like it only has a 15 yalm range as opposed to the rest of your attacks having a 25 yalm range, and it needs to have that range because it's an AoE attack, I guess. But it has a shorter range, so if you're ever out of range for any reason, for instance, if Titania's in the exact middle and you're assigned to one of the like the southeast or southwest puddle or whatever, you typically can't get your Apex Arrow off without jumping off your puddle. So yeah, she's just barely out of range. Or maybe you're on the other side of the bramble patch and she's like in the far corner. You also can't use your Apex Arrow in that situation. Or if you need to apply your dots take priority over using Apex Arrow. So I feel like having it so that it's just a flat, like, I don't know, like 750 potency, whatever max potency is for this, just a little less than that, and then having it cost 80 gauge would be a much better change to this skill, in my opinion. That or making it an ability, but whatever, it's fine. It is what it is. I really like to see that change. I don't think they're going to change Apex Arrow, in my opinion. It's just I don't feel like they feel like it's necessary to change Apex Arrow, even though I feel like having the 80 gauge cost and having that 20 as sort of like a buffer in case you need to do something else or not in range would be really nice. But again, I don't feel like they're going to make that change. And that's kind of it for the gameplay style of Bard. But there is kind of the feel of Bard that's kind of off. If you like Bard for the feeling of being a support DPS, it's not really that feeling anymore. It's the less supporty it has felt in a long time, basically. Like even back as far as 2.0, I feel like there's less support because we removed Faux Requiem, which fine, whatever. It was very clunky. It didn't feel very great to use in Stormblood because it literally lasted like what 12-15 seconds in Stormblood if you had max MP, and it barely did anything. It was like 3% extra damage, but it was there. It was granting your party extra damage. Another thing that we sadly lost that I feel like we really could have been able to keep was the 2% crit buff to the rest of the party whenever you're singing a song. We lost that. It's gone now, and I feel really sad because I really miss having that. I mean, 2% crit, it's not very tangible increase to DPS, but it is an increase to DPS nonetheless, and it felt good knowing that no matter what, as long as you are singing something, which you should always be singing something, you're always giving your party a very small DPS increase. It felt really nice to kind of have that up, and I'm really sad it's gone. To kind of compensate for that, Battle Voice did get its effect doubled. It's now a 20% direct hit rate for all party members for 20 seconds, which is really nice. You know what really sucks though? Battle Voice still doesn't apply to you, and I don't. Why? Why, Square Enix? Why? We're the only job, by the way. Bards are the only job who has a party-wide DPS increase for the whole party that doesn't affect them. Every other job gets their own buff. Battle Litany, Brotherhood, Technical Step, Devotion, right? Alright, hold on, I need to check that out. I know they changed Devotion, but I need to make sure I'm not like putting words in my mouth. Does Devotion cast on everyone? Yes, by all party members. Devotion, all party members, right? What else is there? Freaking Embolden, like kind of Embolden. I mean, everyone else gets a physical damage attack buff, but you get a magic attack buff. But you know what I'm saying? Like every other party-wide buff, it affects them, except for battle voice. I don't understand. Like, why can't we get our own battle voice? Are bards deaf? Are we just tone deaf? We can't hear ourselves singing? Is that what it is? Like, do we have earplugs on? I don't get it. Just please. Please, I would like to get my own direct hit buff, please. Like, the other instance of this that's really annoying, by the way, it's kind of it's related in the sense that it's kind of unfair that we don't get that buff, is Divine Veil for Paladins. Why don't Paladins get their own Divine Veil? On top of having the annoying aspect of needing to get healed first in order for it to activate, when Shake It Off, you pop it and it's there. But, you know, on top of needing a heal, you don't actually get your own Divine Veil buff, which that's a little more forgiving, because one, you're a tank, so you're automatically getting that 20% damage reduction, so you don't really need the buff. It's more for the rest of your party. But this, it's like, come on, can we get our own direct hit rate buff? It'd be really nice. But bards are actually doing really good right now. In fact, some people would say bards are doing too good in terms of personal DPS, which I can see it. Like, I don't know if it's because the two big fights we have right now, Titania and Innocence, they have phases where I can just multi-dot up the Wild Zoo and just get Reptor stacks just like back and forth, pitch perfect everywhere, just freaking pitch perfect, just all over the place. And then I'll line up two ads and I'll do Apex Arrow and I hit two different enemies with Apex Arrow, and then bam, that's another, like, what, 1500 DPS, 1500 potency attack, 1500 DPS. My god, imagine if you just used Apex Arrow and it gave you 1500 DPS. Jesus. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. The bards are doing extremely well, so I feel like all these changes I'm asking for, being able to stack Trader Shop procs and getting your own battle voice, I feel like that wouldn't happen without getting stuff taken away, getting potencies decreased and stuff in the process. So yeah, I'm not feeling like we're gonna actually get either of those changes. Do bards need a nerf? I don't know. I feel like bards are in a very good place right now, but I feel like, if anything, maybe Machinists need a little tiny bit of a buff. But again, look, I'm not a numbers guy. I'm just gonna say that I'm not a numbers guy. For me, it's just like, if you're doing well enough on your job and everyone's having fun and nobody's like messing up and wiping the party, that's all I ask for. I don't need you to be freaking top tier DPSing, going like 130k. You know, I don't need that. Or 13k, 130k, 13. I don't need you doing 13k DPS. You know, I just want you to do a decent job on your job and not wipe the party. That's all I ask for, really. So I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to be talking about numbers, but Bard feels good in terms of its own DPS, but the support aspect of Bard kind of lacking. Now, we have a couple of extra little things that we thankfully did get to keep on Bard. We have Warden's Pain. I remember asking somebody if Warden's Pain had stayed the same, because I love Warden's Pain, and it pretty much has. It's the same effect. It's basically an ability that acts as a Suna. It also creates a barrier that will absorb your next detrimental effect in case there isn't one. So it's really nice for absorbing effects before they happen. There's a couple instances where it's really beneficial to use this. I don't know, the first thing that comes to my head is Castrum Babania, that last boss. He does his Tank Buster and also applies a bleed. You pop this right before the Tank Buster, absorbs the bleed. There you go. Then your healers don't have to worry about it. Troubadour, it's really kind of hard to say that this is actually a Bard thing, because all the ranged DPS pretty much have this. Essentially, Troubadour, this really should just be in the role action section of ranged DPS, because every single ranged DPS has one of these. It's just thematically changed for the job. So we get Troubadour, and it can't stack with Dancers or Machinist version of Troubadour, and essentially just reduces damage taken by self and nearby party members by 10%. Thankfully, this does apply to ourselves, unlike Battle Voice. So I guess we're not tone deaf. It's just we don't like hearing ourselves scream, I guess. Yeah, this is very, very helpful for reducing raid-wide damage. In dungeons, please be using this on large pulls. is extremely helpful. It's basically a replacement for Palisade since we don't have Palisade anymore. Much easier to use than Palisade as well. Please be using this in large pulls because it will really help out your healers. And trust me, healers need all the help they can get right now because healing is kind of a nightmare when it comes to large pulls right now. It really sucks, especially for Ashlosian. Speaking of helping out healers, Nature's Men, fantastic ability, fantastic ability. We had its recast doubled. It used to be 45 seconds back in Stormblood, but in exchange it now affects healing actions. So it affects abilities, not just spells, which is a fantastic change to Nature's Men. The only thing about Nature's Men that I don't like is that it's got the same recast as Mantra, which if we hop over to Monk real quick and take a look at what Mantra does. Mantra increases HP recovery via healing actions by 20% for self and all nearby party members. Recast 90 seconds, duration 15 seconds. All right, let me hop on over to Bard real quick. Let's hop back to Bard. Let's check out Nature's Men again. Increases HP recovery via healing actions for a party member or self by 20%. Duration 15 seconds, recast 90 seconds. So yeah, why does Monk get Nature's Men times 8? Why? So I don't know. That kind of sucks that Mantra's just Nature's Men, but for everybody, like I feel like you could bump this down maybe to 60 seconds. That'd be really cool. That'd help. I mean, I feel a lot better if you bump this down to 60 seconds, Square Enix. You know, it help. You know, we can't get our own battle voice. We don't have the crit party buff anymore. Just bump this down to 60 seconds. And it'll be good. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't even matter. You know why? Because every single bard that I've run with so far does not actually use this. Like, it's like the plague to them. I just don't understand. It's such a good ability to help with your healers. I see nobody using it. The only other bard I've seen using it is someone else in my free company. So, you know, every other bard I've run into in the duty finder or the raid finder, no one uses this. It's such a good ability. Please, if you're playing bard, use this on large pulls. Use this on you know when your tank's taking a lot of damage. Use this, you know, Fey Light or whatever it's called. Use it there for Titania. Please use Nature's Men. It's really good. But yeah, I don't know. When it comes to Bard, it feels really nice to play. DPS is we're doing really good in terms of personal DPS. We have a very slight party-wide DPS with Battle Voice. That's the only thing we really give to our party in terms of DPS now. With crit buff gone and Foe Requiem gone, that's really all we give. So I feel like our DPS being as high as it is, considering the fact that we only give Battle Voice now, it's fine. You know, it's fine. I don't think we necessarily need a nerf in that regard. I think it's fine. If anything, since Machinist is kind of a selfish DPS, it might need a little bit of a buff, a very tiny buff. I think Machinist is in a really good place too. But if Bard is really as close on Machinist's tail as, I don't know, when I play Bard, I'm not that far behind when I play Machinist. Maybe that's because I'm playing Bard really well. I'm playing Machinist really terribly. Who knows? But yeah, I think Bard is fine. I think the bigger changes that I want we won't see, and that would be getting straighter shot, procs to stack, and also getting our Apex arrow to just cost 80 gauge flat potency, and then get that 20 gauge kind of buffer in case we need to do something else. The other changes, getting the passive crit buff for the entire party. We're not gonna see that. Maybe. I feel like we might get the ability to have our own battle voice, but again, like, I don't know. I doubt it. The fact that, for one thing, we didn't get it back in Stormblood for that entire 2 years, and the fact that we got to an entirely new expansion where they decided to rebalance everything and change everything up, and we still didn't get it. The fact that we're still not getting it, I don't think we will. So, yeah, I'm not holding my breath for getting our own battle voice there. But, yeah, if you're liking Bard for its playstyle, then it's pretty much intact. Like, the biggest thing again is just not having to worry about straight shot, which is fine. I don't think it took pretty much took that much skill to keep up straight shot anyway, which is kind of an annoying thing to kind of have to keep track of. But if you like the sort of image of Bard being a support DPS, it's been watered down a lot in that aspect. I mean, you still have some really neat things. Again, Nature's Min is fantastic. Troubadour, all the ranged DPS have it, so it's not really a bard thing. Warden's Pain, very situational, but it is helpful when it is there. Battle Voice, again, just pretty much every DPS except for the selfish ones. Basically, every DPS except for Black Mage, Samurai, almost said Melee, and Machinist, all have some sort of raid DPS increase for the whole party. So that's not even unique to Bard. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think Bard really fulfills that support DPS role as much as it has before. I think Bard really nailed it with the support back in Stormblood, but now, I mean, no Foe Requiem, no crit buff, no refresh, no Tactician, obviously, because there's no TP, but no refresh. I think they could have kept refresh in the game, honestly, and just kind of had it be a single target thing. But honestly, like, Lucid Dreaming being on a minute, it's just like, that's your refresh right there. It's Lucid Dreaming having half its cooldown. That's your refresh. So yeah, I feel like refresh would have been redundant anyway. But yeah, that's it for Bard. I feel like playstyle wise, it's still a lot of fun. Support DPS, it's kind of disappointing. It doesn't really feel like a support DPS as much anymore. It has some nice utility, but it doesn't really feel like a support DPS anymore. I feel like Dancer's kind of taken that role, but even then, Dancer's not really even a support DPS as much as it is a give everyone a shit ton of extra damage DPS. So yeah, that's Bard. That's my thoughts on Bard. I feel like there's a couple changes I'd like to see, but I'm not entirely sure we will see that. And if we did see them, I suspect we would lose some potencies along the way. Which you know, fair enough. If I could stack like freaking 5 Refulgent Arrows to use in a row, I would expect to lose some potency on Refulgent Arrow in turn. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with Bard, but we'll see. All right, let's hop up over to Dancer next. Brand new job, Dancer. What are my thoughts on Dancer? There's a lot of things to talk about on Dancer. First thing to really talk about on Dancer is holy shit RNG. My God. So, whereas Machinist has pretty much eliminated all RNG aspects of that job, and Bard has kind of mitigated the most annoying RNG aspect of its job, and is still reliant on RNG, Dancer got all the RNG, man. Dancer's just RNG. Your RNG has to proc from RNG, which has to proc from RNG. You know what I mean? Like look at Fan Dance 3. This procs off of Fan Dance. Like you have to get Fan Dance to proc this to proc Fan Dance 3. But in order to get Fan Dance, you need to first get a full feather. That's really hard to say. A 4-fold feather. In order to get the 4-fold feather, you have to use Reverse Cascade or Fountain Fall. In order to get Reverse Cascade or Fountain Fall, you gotta first proc it with Cascade or Fountain. It's like, Jesus Christ. That is a lot of RNG that needs to stack on each other just to get to this one ability, by the way. Like, holy shit. Alright, so the first thing I would really like to see about Dancer is to just freaking mitigate the RNG a little bit. Like, increase our chances of getting RNG. Just a little bit. Like, I know it's 50% here, but I mean, just like, maybe that's not enough. It don't feel like 50%, alright? It really doesn't. It's basically 50% off across the board to grant your next thing, which again, it doesn't feel like 50% when you're playing it. It really doesn't. It really, a lot of the times it will feel like you're just not getting your procs, and that doesn't feel very satisfying at all. It's basically it's like split shot all over again. But it feels a little bit better because even if you hit your cascade, you still get your combo to Fountain. So it's a little bit better than back in the day, just spamming split shot like 5 times until you got your reload or quick reload to guarantee your proc. Now at least you have something that combos off of it, so you're now at least doing two weapon skills instead of just one, hoping and praying for your next proc to proc. But yeah, I don't know. There's too much RNG. I really feel like they need to mitigate it. And also, the feeling of Dancer is also when you're doing your dances, it feels really good. Because your dances, they're very fast paced. 1 second GCDs, and then when when you're finished, you pop your dance. It does a lot of damage. Standard step does what, 1,000 DPS, 1,000 potency rather. Sorry, I keep mixing those up. Oh yeah, 1,000 potency, and then techno finish does 1,500 potency. Assuming you do it right, which you should, because you can't mess up your dances. I mean, you can mess up your dances, but it's not like Ninja. Like, if you mess up your dances, it just means you have to spend another GCD hitting the right button this time, and then you can press it. But yeah, so it feels really nice when you're using your dances, and it feels really good, especially when you get your technical step off. Everyone's got that DPS. It lines up with your devilment, so you got your devilment. It should line up with your flourish as well, so you got all these. You procced all your RNG stuff. You guarantee procced all your RNG stuff. It feels really fast paced. That one window, that 1 20-second window. Basically, when you got your devilment up, you got your technical stat. Your technical step up, you got your flourish with all your procs. Everyone's contributing because everyone's got Esprit. Everyone's contributing to your Sabre Dance, so you're getting a bunch of Sabre Dances. That like 15-20 second window, really fun on Dancer. Everything else it can feel a little slow depending on whether or not RNG is gracing you or not. So I feel like the first step to really making Dancer feel a lot better is to kind of mitigate that RNG a bit. I feel like there's not enough to do in between your global cooldowns on Dancer. Is another thing. Like, your only off global cooldown abilities you have are your buffs, which devilment, flourish, and that's basically it actually. And also your fan dances, but fan dances require you to have 4 full feathers. So there's not enough for you to do in between your global cooldown. I mean, you think of Machinists, you got your Gauss barrels, you got your ricochets, and then you're constantly getting those off cooldown with your overheat periods and your heat blasts. You know what I mean? And then on Bard, you got your pitch perfects that are proccing. You got your bloodletter, rain of deaths that are always proccing. You got your imperial arrow once every 15 seconds. You got a lot of stuff off the global cooldown. You have to use your songs off the global cooldown. So Bard, Machinists, they're always staying busy in between the global cooldowns for the most part. Dancer, not so much, because you need to proc your abilities in order to be able to use them, which really kind of sucks. So I feel like we should transform one of our fan dances so that it's just a flat cooldown of like 15 seconds. I think that would be a really good change. I think changing it so that fan dance 1 actually that just grants a single target damage. I feel like it'd be really cool if we transform this into just a cooldown, and then keep the 50% chance to proc Fan Dance 3, but then you're using your 4 full feathers on Fan Dance 2, which is your AOE. This way, you're getting a guaranteed Fan Dance once every 15 seconds or whatever. You're using your full feathers on Fan Dance 2, which is always going to be a DPS increase, even if it's only 100 potency. Maybe buff up Fan Dance 2's potency a little bit for this reason, and obviously it's better in AOE situations. And then both of these can proc Fan Dance 3, which is just better, better for single target, better for AOE. And all aspects. So yeah, I think that'd be a really cool change to see. It would just give us something consistent to do in between our global cooldowns once every 15 seconds or whatever they want to make the cooldown. I mean, I'm saying this, it's not gonna happen. Like, I am almost guaranteedly sure they're not going to change how your fan dance works. But it'd be really cool if that change did happen. One thing that I think we could stand to do, actually, is if we don't want to do the fan dance thing, which I'm pretty sure we're not, is to actually make it so that Cascade and Fountain guarantee proc reverse Cascade and Fountain Fall. And that sounds ridiculous, but I feel like it works, because there's still enough RNG aspect in there, because even using reverse Cascade and Fountain Fall, you still got the 50% chance to hit your fourfold feathers. So I feel like guarantee proccing Reverse Cascade and Fountain Fall would do two things. One, it would increase our personal DPS a little bit because it means that every time you use Cascade, every time you use Fountain, you automatically get a Reverse Cascade and Fountain Fall, which means you're spamming Cascade and Fountain, which are less DPS, less often, which means you're getting more potency throughout the fight, more personal DPS. That solves that problem. Which personal DPS really low for Dancer. Again, it should be pretty low because you're giving your entire party. First off, you're giving one of your DPS 5% extra damage for the whole fight, basically, and then you're giving your whole party a lot of extra DPS once every 2 minutes. So it should be pretty low. It should be the lowest, if not second to lowest. It should be the lowest, honestly. It really should be. But I feel like it needs just a tiny bit. That's a very slippery slope to kind of talk about with Dancer because it offers so much rate DPS. And if everyone's on point, which most of my parties haven't, like when I go into the raid finder, like my parties, it's just like it's a toss up, man, whether or not my freaking black mage is gonna do 13k or if they're gonna do freaking 6k. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a freaking coin toss. But if everyone's on point, then that raid DPS that you're granting is insane. But if everyone sucks, then yeah, your raid DPS, it's not gonna matter that much. So it's a very slippery slope when you're talking about increasing Dancer's personal DPS, but I do think they need just a tiny bump. And I feel like rather than just like giving some potency increases here and there or whatever, guaranteeing Cascade and Fountain to proc Reverse Cascade and Fountain Fall would go a long way to one, increasing your personal DPS, and two, kind of mitigating that RNG and making it feel a lot more satisfying to play Dancer than what it is currently. And yeah, that's kind of my opinion. If not that, then at least increase the chance to like 70% or something. I don't know. Just increase it. Just please increase the RNG. I want to mitigate some of this RNG. There's just too much RNG, and I feel like we kind of deserve to get some of this RNG mitigated a little bit with these changes coming up on Tuesday. So fingers crossed. If anything on Dancer increases to the chances to proc things, is what I'd be asking for the most on Dancer. Yeah, alright, so there's a couple other things I want to talk about on Dancer. Shield Samba, same thing as Troubadour, same thing as Tactician. Great to use, no problems with it whatsoever. En Avant, fun as hell to use En Avant. I love En Avant, it's so much fun. It can get you into some real bad trouble if you use it wrong. I've seen people En Avant off the edge of arenas before. It's really funny, but I've also seen them run into walls that instantly kill you, which is also funny. Be very careful with your En Avants, but it is a lot of fun to use this, and very helpful for moving to places, whether that be to move into range of something, move out of AoEs, whatever. Yeah, really fun. Alright, there's a couple things that I do want to talk about first. First off, Sabre Dance. Alright, this is the only thing you can use your Esper Gauge on. 600 weapon skill attack, also does 50% less for all remaining enemies, so it's good for AoE situations as well. If anything, your Esper Gauge feels really slow. It really does. Considering that both you and your dance partner have a chance to proc Esprit whenever you land a weapon skill or a spell, it seems to feel extremely slow. Like it crawls up. For this reason as well, it's actually very beneficial for you to choose a DPS that has a high attack speed. So you got your monks, you got your ninjas, machinists also get their overheats quite often, which is very fast GCDs when they have their overheats. But I feel like despite the fact that you're getting your increased rate of getting Esper Gauge, it is more beneficial for you to pick whoever's just doing the most DPS for your dance partner. So even though it's tempting to dance with the monk, who's getting their 4 stacks of Grease Lightning and just punching and kicking the crap out of the things and potentially giving you more Esper Gauge, it's probably more beneficial to give it to the black mage, who's maybe doing like 13k, and then increasing their DPS, assuming that the monk is doing less than the black mage, which I'm assuming they are right now, but I don't know because I've seen like 2 monks so far this expansion. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I feel like your gauge feels really slow. And I wouldn't be opposed for them increasing the rate at which your gauge fills at all. So I wouldn't mind it. Another thing that you could do if you don't want to like actually increase the rate of which your gauge fills is to give us some gauge whenever you use Flourish. I mean, Flourish is kind of there to kind of help mitigate that RNG by literally proccing everything. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mind it. Like, you don't have to give us like a full 50, even though that'd be really cool if you gave us a full 50 gauge to use, so that you automatically get a Sabre Dance whenever you use Flourish. But maybe give us like 20, 30 gauge whenever you pop Flourish. That'd be really cool. Speaking of our Esprit gauge, improvisation, please, for the love of goodness, please make it so that whenever you're using improvisation, you just get a flat 10 gauge per tick. Please, for the love of goodness, please make that change. Cause I'm gonna tell you right now, no one stands next to me when I use improvisation, and I barely get any gauge when I use it. No one stands next to me. Please, keep it so that you have to stand next to me in order to get the increased healing. But the gauge part, just give us 10 each tick, please. That's what samurais get. Please give that to us too. Cause it's really annoying. No one stands next to us. I mean, I don't blame them. Like look at this. Look at this dance. Look at this dance. Look at how weird this looks. I wouldn't blame it. If someone was doing this right next to me, I'd be like, what the hell is this weirdo doing? I'm gonna go stand in the corner over there, next to the creepy looking gigantic tree, and I'm gonna stand over there instead. But yeah, please, for the love of goodness, make it so that we get just a flat 10 gauge every tick whenever you use improvisation in battle. Please, I would love that change. Please make that change. Other than that, the other thing I want to talk about, curing Waltz. This is nothing. This is like I feel like Embrace does more, and Embrace does nothing. Embrace is a freaking tickle. All right now. But yeah, restores own HP and HP of all nearby party members with a potency of 200. It also, when you're dancing with somebody, they also get Curing Waltz's effect when you use this. So if you're stacked on each other, that's 400 potency cure to everyone around you. The only problem is one thing: 400, the 200 potency cure is freaking nothing. Like let me do this right here. 4,000, so about 4,000. So that's like 5% of my HP. Yeah, 5% of my HP. So if I'm standing next to my my dance partner, that's 10% of my HP right there, which is nothing. That's nothing. That's for something that's on a minute cooldown. It's really nothing. It's like, why even bother having this? Also, the range, it's 3 yums. Like, we have to like literally be like in a matchbox together for you to actually get this on the party, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know, maybe buff the cure potency a little bit would be nice. Like honestly, like if you made it so that it was like actually a sizable cure, but just increased the recast to like 2 minutes, and also made it the radius reasonable, not like 3 yums, so that we're literally hugging each other, I'd be totally fine with that. Honestly, I'd rather Curing Waltz be situationally or like useful occasionally than it barely having any impacts once every minute. You know what I mean? Like, as it stands, using Curing Waltz is not gonna save anybody. Like, it's not gonna do anything. And also, you have to be standing so close to somebody that, for the most part, you're not even gonna hit everybody, because it's very rare that everyone's actually standing right next to each other. As I've said with improvisation, no one wants to stand next to the dancer. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, Curing Waltz, please just like increase the recast to 2 minutes, hell, 3 minutes, I don't care. Just increase the potency with it, and also increase the range so that it's actually useful. I'd be really happy if Curing Waltz, I felt actually Curing Waltz actually made an impact on anything. That'd be really cool. Other than that, AoE's really good on Dancer. And actually, Dancer is the one job where I feel like AoE is actually really fun on Dancer. And it's because a lot of that has to do with the fact that your AoE rotation is basically the same thing as your single target rotation in terms of the actual, like, pressing of buttons. It's just that it's AoE instead of single target, which either says a lot about the AoE rotation on Dancer or says you know, like, or it makes it so that your single target rotation is very lacking, or probably somewhere both. It's both the fact that your AoE rotations is more complex than most, and your single rotation is more simple than most. It's probably both of those things combined. The fact that AoEing on Dancer feels really good, but yeah, it feels fantastic to AoE on Dancer. All 4 of your weapon skills are great. Using Fan Dance 2 and Fan Dance 3 when they actually proc, fantastic. Using your dances, ridiculous. I mean, I know it's 80% less for, or 75% less potency for all remaining enemies after you get that first initial huge hit, but damn, that's still a lot of damage. That's still a lot of damage when you're using your steps in an AoE situation. It feels really good to use it. So AoE, thumbs up for me for Dancer. It's just single target. It needs some help. It really does. You don't need to touch AoE on Dancer whatsoever. Also, I find it really funny that it's actually worth using Rising Windmill, or Rising Windmill and what's the other one? Blade Shower. Is that right? Yeah, Rising Windmill and Blade Shower. I find it funny that or Blood Shower, that it's actually worth using Rising Windmill and Blood Shower for single target whenever you have it procs, because it grants full feathers, and 250 potency, which is Rising Windmill, is the same potency as just a normal fountain. So yeah, if for whatever reason, if you weren't using your AoE procs on single target, use them, because it's a DPS increase. So whenever you hit your flourish, make sure you use your Blood Showers and your Rising Windmills if you can. You know, like if you're, you know, Sabre Dance is always to take priority, so I would use it in priority of potency. So obviously use your single target ones first, unless you know you have to move, in which case you might want to prioritize using Blood Shower or Rising Windmill first. And yeah, again, just a little bit of complexity there for Dancer that is really lacking. I feel like Dancer is very simple right now. At least I'd like to think so. Dancer, I feel like, just looking at this, it might be a little overwhelming when you first unlock it, because it starts at level 60, and you get most of your abilities then, and it's just like, what did I do with all these? But once you kind of get into the hang of it, Dancer is really simple, really straightforward. There's a couple things you can do to kind of optimize Dancer, but there isn't a whole lot. Like I see a lot of people just want to burn their fan dances as soon as they get them, but it's much more beneficial to wait until you get to, you know, your devilment, your technical step window, or you know, wait until you get other party buffs, like you get your devotions, you get your trick attacks or whatever. It's much more beneficial to save them and only use your full-fold feathers if you're gonna overflow on four-fold feathers. You know, if you're half 4, you're about to use something that could give you another one, then obviously use one. But you know, just I feel a lot of people just trigger happy, just blow their fan dances as soon as they get them. So that's one aspect I see a lot of dancers doing wrong. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Dancer is actually a really simple job right now. I feel like I'm not sure if I would consider Dancer or Red Mage to be the easier job right now, because I haven't actually played Red Mage at level 80 yet. But I think they are definitely probably the simplest jobs in the game currently. At least I'd like to think so again. But the amount of dancers I see doing like 5-6k in like Titania or Innocence will say otherwise. Like, I feel bad when I hit like mid 9,000s on Dancer. You know, I feel bad because I feel like I should be doing more DPS than that. But you know, that's pretty average, I would feel like. But then you got your dancers, like every other dancer. I have yet to see another dancer actually do well in the raid finder, the duty finder, wherever. It's just like I feel like a lot of dancers are just like, I don't know where they're going wrong. I don't know. Like they're doing really low numbers, like 6k, 7k on dancer. I don't know. I don't get it. One thing I guess is that some dancers don't realize that their dances do damage. I don't know. I've seen dancers that just pop standard step before we even pull. I'm like, what you doing that for? I mean, yeah, if you got a party who's actually gonna wait 30 seconds so that you have your standard step buff going into the fight, and then you have another standard step as soon as you pull, then yeah, go ahead, blow your standard step. That's optimal. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I've gotten to do that like once. And that's because we're in the start of Titania, and everyone's like picking their freaking positions and everything, and like deciding tether orders and whatever. That's the only time I get to use my standard step, and actually have the standard step buff up at the same time. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Dancer's really simple, but a lot of people are somehow playing it wrong. I don't really know where you go wrong on Dancer. There isn't really very many places to go wrong on Dancer, I feel like, but yeah, that's Dancer. I have a lot of fun, despite how simple it is and how RNG reliant Dancer kind of feels right now. I still have a lot of fun on Dancer, and I really wish I could have even more fun on Dancer. There's just too much RNG. Like the personal DPS thing, I would like to see a very slight, very slight personal DPS increase. But not much, just a very slight one. But even if they don't give us a personal DPS increase, I want to see the RNG mitigated a bit. Like, you know, either guarantee Cascade and Fountain, or at least increase the chances for Cascade and Fountain, please. That would be great. That would go a long way, I feel like, to making Dancer feel a lot more engaging and a lot more fun for a lot of people, not just me. So I really looking forward to what they do to Dancer with the job adjustments that are coming up very soon. We'll have to wait and see. My eyes are very peeled for Dancer and Astrologian in particular. So we'll see what happens. And Ninja also. Ninja is another big one that I'm very looking forward to. I'm not even playing Ninja, but I'm very curious to see what they'll do to Ninja. Wow, I like how I was talking for so long I went AFK. But that's kind of all I have to really say on Dancer for the moment. Again, the biggest changes I want to see for Dancer that I feel like are reasonable, like, again, slight potency increase to RNG chances, improvisation. That's the big change that I really want to see, which is weird because there's not a whole lot of areas you can use improvisation right now. Like there's like 2 fights, I think, in the game where you can use improvisation. Well, I guess 3. I guess you can kind of use it in Dying Gasp, but I don't think there's any place to use it in Eden, because yeah, there's never a moment in Eden where the boss becomes untargetable for you to use improvisation. So it's basically just the 2 primals and Dying Gasp where you can actually use improvisation right now. Yeah. Even though there isn't very many places to use this, I would really like it if I just get some continuous, just a flat 10 gauge every tick, please. That'd be really great. And then you know, increase to Esprit gauge accumulation would be really nice. Curing Waltz having its potency increased would also be very nice. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure just how much they're going to give Dancer. But I do think that Dancer does need a little bit extra something, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's all I have to say on Dancer at the moment. I am kind of going off of just memory. Like, I've been kind of thinking about what I've wanted to say in this video for a long time, but I might actually miss some stuff, who knows? But I'll have a chance to kind of go over all these changes again, all the things I've wanted to see change anyway, when we actually get patch notes on Tuesday. So moving on to Machinist. The secret 3rd new job in Shadowbringers. Machinist is practically a new job in my opinion. Yeah, very little about Machinist has stayed the same throughout the 3 expansion it has been a part of. If you are very used to how Machinist was in Heavensward, or very used to how it was in Stormblood, then rest assured that it is nothing like those things, because nobody liked Machinist in Stormblood. Not even the Machinists who played them, I bet. They just kind of begrudgingly played it because, I don't know, it did more DPS than Bard. I don't know. But yeah, if like the vast majority of people did not like how Machinist was playing in Stormblood, so they changed it, and I feel like the vast majority of the people are really liking Machinist right now. Like, between Bard just being a solid job and not changing a whole lot going into Stormblood, or going into Shadowbringers from Stormblood, and then Dancer being a fan favorite job that just got released, and Machinist getting reworked and actually being fun, Range DPS has seen a massive increase, just resurgence, which just it tickles my heart. It really does. Like, just there's so much range DPS now. I've been on range DPS for so long, and it's always felt like range DPS has always been kind of the underdog, because it's like Everyone Reborn, it was just Bard, and in Heaven's Word, you got Machinist, but both Bard and Machinist had that weird sort of caster playstyle that a lot of people just weren't fond of. In Stormblood, Bard was really good, but a lot of people did not like Machinists, so again, it was mostly just Bards running around, if anything, for range DPS. But now it's like, yes, you got your Machinists, you got your Bards, you got your Dancers. I see them all over the place. Everyone's playing range DPS. It just brings a tear to my eye. And not because I'm happy, because I'm actually really sad, because I want to roll uncontested, and y'all just be filling up these raid finder, party finder groups all the time, and I just want to roll uncontested, please. So get the hell off. Art range DPS is my role. All right, get off it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm really glad that more people are enjoying range DPS. But let's get into Machinist, because Machinist, there's so much good to say about Machinist. Oh boy. So everything I hated about Machinist in Stormblood is pretty much gone, which is good. RNG completely eliminated on Machinist. There's absolutely zero RNG on Machinist now. It is all it's just there. What you see is what you get. The only RNG on Machinist is the same RNG everyone else has, whether or not you get your crits and your direct hits. That's it with Machinist. So following that change, their ammo is gone. I actually didn't mind ammo, but again, it was kind of a system that was in place to combat RNG, so it makes sense that it's gone. I think it would have been really cool if we kind of kept reload as the animation, because the animations and sound effects for reload were really cool. I really liked them, so it would have been really cool if you'd have kept reload as like some sort of damage buff or something. But you know, it's gone now, so you know, I'll take no RNG and no reload animation and sound effects any day for having just straight up combos, which is what your split shot, slug shot, and clean shot is now. It's just a straight combo. You even get the combo sound effects when you use your combos, which is really fun. But yeah, it's now just a straight combo, but it's actually your lowest priority thing right now. So yeah, that's kind of cool that we finally get just normal combos, no RNG on that as well. We talked about priority system. Machinist now kind of follows a priority system. I mean, it kind of did before, but more so now than ever. RNG is gone. It's basically just a priority system when it comes to Machinist. Top priority is your hardest hitting weapon skills. That would be drill and air anchor. After that, it would be wildfire, as long as you have enough heat, which is at least 50 heat, so you can overheat while you're using your wildfire. After wildfire, it's using your heat, and after using your heat, then you can use your combo. That's kind of how RNG plays in a nutshell, or RNG plays how Machinist plays in a nutshell. I'm so in love with RNG that I'm mixing up RNG with all the words now. But again, let's get back to what I hated about Machinist, and that's gone. RNG combos, gone. Thank God, good riddance. What else is gone on Machinist? The feeling of Gauss Barrel is gone. Gauss Barrel removed, thank goodness. And the feeling of losing DPS from overheating is also gone. Now when you overheat, it very simply just gives you access to two very powerful weapon skills that have very short global cooldowns. Heat blasts when you are doing single target, which will also reduce the cast time of Gauss Barrel and Ricochet, so you can weave one of these two in between your heat blast, and that's kind of your single target overheating rotation there for 8 seconds, I believe, is how long you overheat it. And then whenever you need to AoE, you got auto crossbow instead, which yeah, for doing more than one target, that's your rotation for overheating when you need to do AoE. And you don't lose anything when you're done overheating, thank goodness. I hated that. Your turret also has been kind of reworked. First off, you get the Automaton Queen once you hit level 80, so it's not even a turret anymore, it's just an android machine, I guess. I don't know, it's a machine. It hits things, has a drill arm, it's really cool. But they've kind of reworked this. Instead of your turret just kind of constantly being on the field, just always doing damage, and then you having to blow up your turret in order to front load a lot of damage inside your wildfire window, now it's very simply you have a different gauge. you have your battery gauge that increases whenever you use air anchor or hot shot before you get air anchor, or whenever you use clean shot. Also increases your battery gauge by 10 as well. So you increase your battery gauge, and then when it fills up, you can summon your turret or your Tom Queen if you're max level. It does some damage for the duration, and then as it's leaving, it'll do its big ultimate attack, Queen Overdrive, if you have your Automata Queen, or Rook Overdrive if you have that, and then it's gone, and then you have to build up your battery gauge to summon again. And I really vastly prefer this. It puts more, to compensate for the fact that you're not always having your turret out. Obviously, you get more personal DPS that's just tied to you and what you're doing, and then you just kind of have your turret or your Automata Queen come out when your battery gauge fills up, and that's really good. I really like that. It's just much more satisfying. It doesn't feel like you're having to pay. You don't have to pay attention as well to like having to resummon it after your cooldown period is up on your turret like you had to before in Stormblood. It felt really just off there. It felt very off-putting doing that. It really sucked. I hated it. So yeah, that's another thing that's been reworked. The other thing that's been reworked is also Wildfire. Now instead of just taking like, I always hated Wildfire because basically what it used to be was like it took a percentage of the damage you dealt whilst you had Wildfire up, and then it dealt that same amount of that damage at the end when Wildfire exploded, basically. So what you wanted to do was basically cram as much as your hardest hitting skills into your Wildfire window as possible, and it felt awful to do. It felt really weird. You had rapid fire. It didn't feel good. It felt really wonky. It felt very clunky. I didn't like Wildfire back in the day. Now it has been changed, so now it is very simply landing the correct amount of weapon skills within Wildfire's window, which obviously you want to overheat so that you get that decreased recast time in your weapon skills, and then you can cram your weapon skills into Wildfire to get the max potency in Wildfire. So yeah, really like this change to Wildfire. It really simplifies Wildfire. It's still very satisfying to use because you still get that big explosion at the end. And yeah, it's really cool. I really like what they did to Wildfire. It doesn't feel like you're just trying to cram everything into this Wildfire window anymore. It's very simply overheat. Make sure you get one last GCD off right after you overheat, and then you're good to go in terms of your Wildfire doing max damage. So thumbs up from me. So yeah, that's basically all the stuff I hated about Machinist being reworked into something that is just way better. Thumbs up all across the board. I'm having so much fun on Machinist. It's actually the range DPS that I'm having the most fun on right now, honestly. If they actually fixed the RNG on Dancer, I'd probably having a little bit more fun on that because I've been waiting for Dancer for so long. But while I am having fun on just about all three range DPS, I'm having the most fun on Machinist right now. So it is a lot of fun. But yeah, now in terms of what I would like to see changed on Machinist, there isn't much, honestly. I think Machinist is actually, they really nailed it. They really anchored this job as just a solid DPS. They're really drilling it into everyone's heads that it's a very fun to play. I'm really sorry, but yeah, it's really solid. Like, there isn't a whole lot I would change about Machinist, honestly. The only change, I guess, is I would like to see is Flamethrower being generally more useful. Like, as it stands now, Flamethrower it's in a really weird spot because it's technically a very slight DPS increase for you to use Flamethrower in an AoE situation for 3 ticks only. And the reason why you can't use Flamethrower for much longer than that and still get a DPS increase is despite the fact that you are literally blowing flames out of the barrel of your freaking gun, it does not increase your heat gauge at all. I don't understand that. You're literally blowing flames outside of your freaking barrel of your gun, but it doesn't increase your heat gauge. So yeah, I don't know why that is a thing, but for some reason Flamethrower does not increase your heat gauge. Now another use that I've been finding for this is actually using it for bosses or targets rather that are going to become targetable but aren't just targetable just yet. What I mean by this is like, for instance, Titania. We'll use Titania as the ultimate example. When she's making making the ads grow big, and they're just taking forever, you know, they're all big, they're climbing up onto the platform, you know, freaking Sephiroth style. They're taking forever to become targetable. You know, I just go over to was it Mustard Seed's face, that big ugly tree trunk of a face, and I just start, you know, burning down the force, you know, just pumping out that flamethrower. I'm just ready. So that as soon as he becomes targetable, I get that extra tick of damage, maybe, if the server tick is on my side, and then I can go into my rotation, and that's just, you know, an extra 100 potency right there. So you know, whenever you know that there's going to be something to attack, as long as you're standing in the right spot so that your flamethrower is actually going to be hitting them, not a bad idea to preemptively cast flamethrower so you get that extra tick of damage right before you go into your normal rotation, as always. But that's kind of the other use I've been giving flamethrower so far. But ideally, they'll either rework flamethrower to actually be more useful, either by giving us gauge, or maybe just turning it into an ability that puts a dot that you can use every now and then. I wouldn't mind that either. That makes sense. It's a flamethrower. But it would kind of clash with Bioblaster at that point, but just like, you know, it's an ability. Increase the recast time to like 2 minutes or something if you want. Just make flamethrower generally more useful. Is really the only change I could ask for on Machinist at this point, because everything else I feel like is perfect. Well, actually, there's one other thing. I wish there was a way to expand air anchor in an AoE. Because you know you got your drills for your single targets, and if there's more than one target, then you can use your Bioblaster, and it shows the recast time, and you're not wasting your drill. But when it comes to air anchor, like once there's like more than like 3 enemies, it becomes a DPS loss to use air anchor. I think, I don't know. I haven't actually done the math there. But obviously when you're in large pools, it's a DPS loss definitely to use air anchor. Once you've reached a certain amount of people, it is a DPS loss to use air anchor. And also because your Automaton Queen and your turret don't do AoE damage, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they don't do AoE damage. It makes sense that air anchor being used to increase your battery gauge wouldn't be an AoE, but it'd be really cool if there was an AoE equivalent to use on air anchor. But I feel like that's not something we would just get in a patch on Tuesday. That's like next expansion type level stuff. But yeah, it's really cool. Animations on Machinists are lots of fun. I feel like Prompto from Final Fantasy 15 when I'm using stuff like Drill and Bioblaster, which great idea actually. The AoE attack that Prompto gets from Final Fantasy 15 that puts the gravity ball down. Perfect idea. In 6.0, make that the AoE equivalent for air anchor, or the AoE decision for air anchor instead of a single target. Yeah, do that. There you go. Now, one last thing. It's really just kind of a neat little animation quirk that I like about Machinist, and not anything that they really need to change, is that reassemble, right? Reassemble. This guarantees that your next weapon seal is a critical direct hit. So you want to use this on Drill, or you want to use this on Air Anchor, because those are both 700 potency. Those are your hardest hitting weapon skills. So the funny thing though is that yeah, here, let me use reassemble. See, you take a wrench and you do something on your gun, right? And it's like, all right, that makes sense. You adjust something on your gun, it makes it hit really hard. The funny thing is that since you're using this on Air Anchor or Drill, you're not even using your gun, because you pull out this like launcher thing for Air Anchor, you pull out this launcher thing for Drill. It's like, all right, so you're adjusting something on your gun to direct hit, but then you're using a completely different like launcher thing to use Drill and Air Anchor on, which are the weapon skills that you actually want to use reassemble on. I don't know, it's just a funny little quirk that's there. I don't know, I find that amusing. I don't know, it's funny to me. But yeah, I think we covered all the range DPS. Again, my thoughts were kind of a little all over the place. I do apologize for that, but those were my thoughts on the range DPS. In my opinion, they're all kind of in a very good spots. Bard, I think, is in a fine spot. There's just some things about Bard I would really like to see changed. That just kind of just play style wise more than anything else. Some people are saying bards are doing a little too much DPS. If that's actually true, then you know, maybe tone down the DPS a bit, I guess, just a little bit. But honestly, I think it's fine. Machinist, I think, is actually perfect. If anything, Machinist might need a little bit of a DPS buff. Again, I'm not a huge numbers guy, but I think the numbers on Machinist are totally fine. But again, I'm not a huge numbers guy, and I also haven't been playing with very many samurai or black mages to kind of compare to the other selfish DPS there. But I feel like between the three selfish DPS that don't, you know, give any other raid DPS to anybody else, Machinist should be last in that sort of race, since they have the advantage of mobility and just being able to move around freely, whereas black mage and samurai, they kind of need black mage needs to stand still, samurai needs to stay in range and also stay in still sometimes when they're casting their Iajutsu skills. So yeah, I feel like because Machinist has sort of the freedom of being able to just run around and move around freely, that it should be lower than those two at the very least. Even though it should be among that sort of tier of DPS, in my opinion, since it doesn't really offer anything. I guess it offers Tactician, which does the same thing as Shield Sombra and Troubadour, but yeah, you know, that's all they offer. And they offer grazing every single body part there is as well, for your heavies, for your binds, and for your silences and stuff. I guess actually arm graze is gone since stuns. We don't stun anymore. That sucks. I miss being able to graze every limb of the body. Now we just graze legs, feet, and heads. Yeah, and then we do chest grazes whenever we shoot somebody in the chest. Although that's more like a chest puncture rune. I don't know. But yeah, really just kind of some quality of life changes, I feel like, for Bard. I really don't feel like they're going to give us our support aspects on Bard back. I really don't. If they do, that's more of an expansion, like next expansion type thing, like giving the crit back onto our songs and all that. It'd be really nice if we get our own battle voice. Again, since we haven't had our own battle voice for the last like 2 years, I doubt we're going to get it. Dancer, really mitigate that RNG. Make it so improvisation gives flat gauge. I really like that. Other than that, Dancer is really fun. Maybe a slight personal DPS increase, but again, I feel like that's a really slippery slope with Dancer in particular, when it comes to personal DPS, because the amount of raid DPS you can give, like, I've only had a Dancer dance with me like once when I was on Machinist. The amount of extra DPS I got was insane. So when I kind of look at it from the other side of the mirror, really, the other side of the coin, I can kind of see why Dancer's DPS is really as low as it is, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind just a tiny bit, little bit more DPS, personal DPS for Dancer, just a tiny bit, but then you kind of risk you know, Dancer being OP, but apparently nobody knows how to play Dancer right. At least 90% of the dancers I've been playing with don't know how to play Dancer right, and they're doing like 6-7k anyway, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the range DPS. I'm having a lot of fun on all three, despite all of the things I've kind of talked about wanting to see changed. I'm having a lot of fun on all three, to be completely honest. So even if they don't change that much about the range DPS, I'll still have a ton of fun playing all three of these jobs going forward for the next couple of years. So yeah, that's really my opinion on it. I feel like they really nailed Machinist. They did a good job with Dancer. The RNG is just, it really brings down the job, in my opinion. I feel like they need I think they need to tone down just how much RNG Dancer is kind of taking on. I feel like Dancer, there's too many aspects of Dancer that are RNG gated, that I feel like they really kind of need to tone that back a little bit, and give us some either increased chances or guarantee some things on Dancer that we don't have guaranteed right now. And then on Bard, I think Bard's in a good place. It's just some things, some quality of life changes I would like to see happen that probably won't happen, and yeah, I think Bard's in a good place as well. So that's kind of my thoughts on the range DPS. Thank you for watching this hour and 15-minute video on the range DPS. I will be doing a video just like this for the healers, hopefully tomorrow, once I've gotten my Astrologian completely leveled and have had some time to play it in max level content. It's very painful leveling it right now, let me assure you. It feels so weak. I'm gonna have a lot to talk about when it comes to Astrologian when I make that video. Don't you worry about that. But thank you all for watching this video, and as we kind of end this video, I do want to kind of make this kind of note at the end here, and that's I think it was last week, it's been about a week and a half ago now, but you might have heard there was an arson attack on the Kyoto Animation building. And Kyoto Animation, if you don't know, very high quality animation studio, I guess. They produce really high quality animation. Some of your favorite anime might have been made by them. Things like what you got, your clan ads, you got your Violet Evergardens, Shunibyo, Free. You know, they make a lot of high quality looking animation, and I really enjoy a lot of the work that they put out. And it's really unfortunate there was an arson attack on their building. I think upwards of like 30 people were unfortunately killed in that horrible incident, and a lot more were even injured. And it's a really terrible thing. And you know, terrible events like this happen all of the time. You know, it's really unfortunate, but terrible things like this happen all over the time, all over the world. And you know, sometimes we just don't pay attention to it. We just go about our lives, and that's fine. You know, we can't always just be brooding or brooding and on dark things that happen all the time, because then we'd fall into this never-ending pit of just sadness, and that's no way to live your life. But I just, you know, it really hits home for me, this incident in particular, because it's a company that I really respect, and people who are far more talented than me having their lives ending so soon. And it really hits me really hard. And on top of having to do overtime a lot that past week as well, it was just I haven't really been 100%, and I'm kind of getting back up to that point to kind of produce some more content for you guys. But really, the reason why I'm bringing this up is just take care of yourselves. You know, you never know when life's gonna just kind of hit you like that. And you know, no one wakes up, you know, one day thinking, you know, this is gonna be my last day. But you really should just live your life to the fullest. You know, have fun, be respectful, be kind to people, because you know what, like just be nice to people. You know, it's like there's no reason to spread more negativity in the world than there already is. And it's just be nice to people, and just make other people's days, and just have fun. You know, at the end of the day, this is a game. We're all playing it to have fun, all playing it to kill time, whatever the reason. We're all here to have fun. And it's like sometimes you come across those people who are just real assholes, real jerks, and it's like you don't need to be that guy. You know, you don't. It's just like, you know, sometimes, you know, someone's not performing well, or you know, they're underperforming, or they're getting hit, they're wiping the party. You know, people make mistakes, whatever. You don't need to like blast that guy. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a game. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. And that's really what I want to kind of leave you guys off with. It's just have fun. And it really brings back home the purpose of why I make content and why I play this game and why I do YouTube. It's because I want to have fun, and I want to kind of share that fun with other people. And if I'm able to share that fun and give entertainment to other people, then while I'm also having fun, then it's just a win-win situation for me. And that's kind of what I really aspire to when I make content. And so you know, I'm really humbled that you guys watch and you guys enjoy it, and you guys are curious about my opinions, that you'll watch these type of videos. You guys want to know, you know, my hotbar setups. Apparently a lot of people wanted to do that, wanted to know that, because it really helps you, or you really want to know just how I set things up. And it's really humbling to me. And we hit over 6,000 subscribers not so long ago. I think it was sometime last week when I was busy with all the overtime and stuff. And I just thank you so much for that. I mean, that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it wasn't so long ago that we were hitting, you know, 5,000, 4,000, 3,000. It keeps the amount of time before we keep going up by thousands is progressively getting shorter, and before you know it, who knows, maybe we'll hit that 10,000, that 20,000. You never know, and that's really small time for YouTube, but it's very humbling to me that that many people watched something that I made and thought, you know what, this person is worth watching again. So yeah, that's very humbling, and I just want to thank you, and just take care of yourselves. You know, that's the note I want to leave off on, is take care of yourselves and have fun. That's really it. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for watching this video. I just made it an hour and 20 minutes now, but thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video talking about the healers. Sayonara. Bye bye.